Girl from North Carolina has been reunited with her family after she was abducted by a 61-year-old man. Deputies say drivers saw that girl giving a hand signal she learned on TikTok to show that she was in danger. Chad Hedrick shows us more.
It's one of those times where social media is a good thing. The hours some can spend on trending sites like TikTok now being credited with saving a teen girl's life.
There was some people behind her that noticed that she was making hand gestures that signifies for I need help. And with them recognizing that signal, they notified 911.
Deputies say the girl had gone missing from her Asheville, North Carolina home Tuesday. She was in a car going south on I-75, driven by James Herbert Brick. The two were coming back from Ohio when someone in another car noticed the girl's signals and called 911.
We don't know how long coming down the interstate from Ohio that she had been doing this to other motorists, hoping that they would notice that she was in distress.
This is the video that started the trend. It came from the Canadian Women's Foundation, but has spread around the world.
I've been doing this work for a long time, where we talk about safety with survivors, with neighbors, like how you flip your light on, or do you have a certain code word if you text it to somebody that would say that you need help or in danger. So there's always been these trends towards finding safety from community, and I think this is another platform to do so.
Darlene Thomas is the executive director of Greenhouse 17, an advocacy group for abuse victims.
And I also find it incredible that as a community, as a society, we're paying attention. We're taking care of each other. So we can't do it if we don't speak the same language.
A universal language of needing help and being able to notice the signals.
We're all in our own little worlds thinking about where we're going, what we're going to be doing. Maybe we just need to take notice and see what's going on around us.
Hey, what's going on, all? Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everybody's enjoyed their day. Real quick, I know I just posted a video on the Canadian hand signal, so I'm gonna get into it a little bit more, explaining more about that. So I just wanted to post that video, short clip of hand signals, and I'm gonna obviously just want to talk about more about how important it is to teach our children and our women on how to be safe, men included as well. For those new, welcome to Rebuilding Community Trust. This site is dedicated, YouTube channel is dedicated to community matters, education, empowerment, to be abreast of what's going on around us, and not only for ourselves, but for others. For those who've been tuning in, as always, I always appreciate the time being taken for that. I know I've been real busy. I've been moving and grooving on, so I know I've been posting a while, but I'm going to try to go ahead and pick it up and get back on it. Also, real quick, happy Veterans Day in advance to those who are active duty or retired veterans, those separated, those who've served in the military at any point, no matter what branch it is. Salute. Happy Veterans Day to those out there. Real quick, I'm going to dive into a quick topic. We're going to talk about human trafficking, more is focused on sex trafficking. This is something that's in the news. Heavy, missing women, missing kids, a lot of different youth, 16, 15-year-old girls, even some women, even some men, in fact, are being targeted and being putting out missing due to the human trafficking. The title is more or less, I was thinking about, is human trafficking, specifically sex trafficking, is the new slave trade. There's an article actually written. I kind of got some highlights of the article, and it talks about sex trafficking. The title is "Sex Trafficking as a New Slave Trade," and it is written by someone in school, Felicity Shreffner-Grabiel. Can't butcher her name, but she kind of puts the abstract of the article and talks about the United Nations media campaign on branding sex trafficking as the new slave trade. So we think about the slave trade, what it represented specifically for minority groups, African Americans, or Africans coming from over here to the slave trade. But it's now dubbed as a slave trade because it's one of the most, I would say, largest money-making industry in the sense of slave trade, but also it has a largest amount, widespread range of people that's involved in it. I looked on one website. It said it had cyber security or cyber sex trafficking trade as young as one. And obviously we got our, 7-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 16-year-olds, even more older than that. They get them young so they can groom them into the sex trafficking trade. And sometimes they stay as late as 30 or the 20 and 30-year-olds participating in that stuff. So give a couple of definitions and just touch on some highlights. I'm not going to be before you long, but I wanted to kind of highlight on this. This is a real big issue for law enforcement. It's an issue in our communities, and we just need to talk about it. Definition of human trafficking is the unlawfulness or unlawful act of transporting or coercing people in order to benefit from their work or service, typically in the form of forced labor or sexual exploitation. It's interesting enough, I look at sex trafficking is the action or practice of illegally transporting people from one country or area to another for the purpose of sexual exploitation. Examples are for use of force, fraud, or coercion to lure their victims and force them. Political instability is one of the major things. So these other countries where there's not a lot of government intervention, law enforcement intervention, military intervention, is more prone for people to come in and snatch up young children, snatch up women and start moving them into these fields of work. Human trafficking is not just sex exploitation only. You have labor, you have some people will work for little to nothing, doing different types of jobs. You have all types of different broads of human trafficking when it comes to but one of the main things are work, forced labor, or sexual exploitation. A lot of these factors of political instability, the natural disasters, social safety nets, and economic hardships are many examples of how sex trafficking in particular is being used. Social safety net, you have someone is in it and they glorify to say there's good money you're taking care of. You get to have freedoms that you never had before, and that's the one way to get put into it. Also, natural disasters, obviously something happens to the country or the place that you're at, and this is more or less for overseas or in different countries where it's not a lot of socioeconomic provisions put in place, and a natural disaster comes and obviously destroys everything. You don't have nowhere to go. People don't have the financial aspects to rebuild, so they find a way out. Sex exploitation. People will lure them into this type of work for the money aspect of it. And then you have economic hardship. This just goes right into everything else. If you don't have the money, the funding to take care of your children or take care of yourselves, then that's an opportunity to get into something that's going to be lucrative, or at least quote unquote named lucrative. So that's just definitions in a nutshell. Sex trafficking, and it's to the point where it's forced. But like I said, the two ways is luring someone into it or forcing them into it. The association of forced sex with migrant women or women that's overseas as slavery galvanizes a broad contingency against trafficking and broadens the power of the state to intervene in sexual activity under the jurisdiction of national security. So that basically in a nutshell talks about how the government's responsibility, particularly to the United Nations, to get involved into these types of things. Sex trafficking, human trafficking, it starts with having the government to intervene, investigate, and catch, kind of make it a task force to target this type of stuff. It's interesting with I know for a lot of law enforcement communities, they have task force, Homeland Security, or a liaison to deal with human trafficking. I know there's hubs in Miami, there's hubs in California. We're going to look at some statistic numbers. New York, I know Atlanta was a hub. Texas, all that whole state, especially down the southern areas where the border of Mexico is. Even some parts in some of them in Michigan and even some of the northeastern states. There are many hubs, but the main ones are where all the mainly coastal areas are, where you have countries that are neighboring. So, like specifically Florida, New York, Virginia, Atlanta is like a traffic hub. They transport in and out. You have California, where you have all the Mexican border. You have Texas. Those are the main hubs where human trafficking can take place, or in sex trafficking. Interesting enough with that, it's important to talk about these things because we got to look out for our kids, right? There's many videos on top of the one I just posted where there are young kids, ranging young, one site says 1 year old all the way up to your 16, 17-year-olds, your 20-year-olds, and you have people partaking in sex trafficking and putting money into it. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. Right. So when you think about that, you have to be mindful of what's going on with your children. I'm more so concerned with the youth with this one. That is not subjected to men or boys be involved in this, whether they're being the initiators or they're being the ones trafficked. You know, that's a word. And don't forget about the human trafficking aspect, where it's more forced labor, or getting into type of work where you're being paid less or you're not paid at all. Statistical data in 2021, California has 1,507 human trafficking cases. Missouri has 233 cases. Michigan has 364 cases. Atlanta, I think I saw on there, it was in the 400s, 415 cases. And then you have Texas, which is 1,080. Those are just some more different casework in that aspect. You got a chart here that talks about different states. The darker the amount is, the more people that's trafficked it. You know, so you have rate per 1,100 people, 7.50. So that those cases are 239 area, and it's throughout the United States. It is being real prevalent, especially with the pandemic. It has always took crime to another level. It's elevated crime at least in the half, or was even double what it used to be before pre-COVID. So also looking at begging, child porn, and child labor as well. Those are some other areas that I'm looking into as well when it comes to human trafficking and sex trafficking. So that's your prostitution. That's your escort services. There's many different types of things that people use for sex trafficking. A lot of times, and it's interesting when you're overseas, this is more or less for certain, government agencies that go overseas, and you have sex trafficking in these third world countries, or countries where there's not a lot of lucrativeness going on. I was going to say it that way. You don't know if you're participating in human sex trafficking. Usually, a lot of times, you have bar girls, you have prostitutes, escort services. A lot of times, people pay for that stuff, but a lot of times, people are not really paying attention to this stuff, and it's normalized. So personal experiences with that as well. Seeing it and being around it, and seeing the signs, seeing some of the things that you look for when it comes to that. Sometimes the aggressiveness, the money aspect. If they see someone dressed nice, you can be spotted out. You can be more I guess targeted by the prostitutes or the mama sons or whatnot. That's what they call them overseas, and they tend to engage you in the sense of, I want you to use sex as a tool to get paid, right? So we just got to be mindful of these things, especially when it comes to our children. We got to know where they're at. Saying if you're in school, always be mindful. Travel in more than one person. Don't just travel by yourself, especially for the young girls. And I know it's important because some of us have daughters, right? And even sons saying the same thing, but daughters. We got to be real particular, as parents, to be mindful of where our children are, who they're around, and be mindful of the men too. You don't know if you don't know the person, or even some people that are considered family friends. If you don't know they're not family or someone you just trusted, they don't need to be around that person, because you just never know how people our mindsets are. You don't know what they're thinking about. You don't know if they're part of that stuff. And I guess we can look into, how much does it cost to take someone and say, send them off. It's like a slave. You pay them a certain amount, and they are sold to the human traffickers. They sold to the sexual person that's participating in sex trafficking. And then there's an amount that is paid to the person that sells them over, right? So just be mindful of that stuff. They go off looks, they go off the age, they go off the longevity aspect. That's why they get them so young. So those are some of the things that I've learned over the years, participating in stopping it and being a part of law enforcement and learning things of such as nature. So interesting enough, we could talk about the video. We talked about where it was a 16-year-old that was caught up with an older man, and she got out of able to get out of the man's, get locked down is using those hand signals. So the site is CanadianWomen.org. Signal for help. Again, you have the palm to camera and to tuck thumb. So you can do this on your cell phone, and also you can do it in person. So it's your palm tucked in thumb, and then you have the trap thumb, and this is like this. So palm and thumb, trap and thumb. So that's a signal to let them know that there's help. I need help. I need to get out of the situation where the person can dial 911. Whether you can, social media is a big tool now. So if you on TikTok or you on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat, you can snap, join your hand like this, and make those signals. And people should starting to know those signals and universal signals and be able to call for help and have someone send out law enforcement, or even when it comes to family, they can maybe say location or where to go or whatnot. So it's important, again, to learn these things, especially for his parents. Learn, how to teach our children these types of things, especially if you're young girls, daughters, if you're participating in sports, or you're in school, or you out, moving about, be mindful of these things. Be mindful of your surroundings. Don't travel by yourself. Have someone trusted. And I'm going to go there too with this, especially when it comes to high school, girls and stuff like that. You got to be mindful who you're around. Everybody's not your friend. So if those, there's been situations where people's good friends or quote unquote friends from school set the other person up for them to be caught up. Set you up to be caught up. So be mindful, really know and screen the people that you're around. Those who are in high school, and parents, be mindful of the company that the kids keep, and ask the hard questions, and have those hard conversations, and get them to think and critical think who they're around. And, everybody wants to be friends and be friendly, but everybody don't have the same motives and the same things they need to learn as far as being safe and taking care of each other as you're out. So just be mindful of that. Like, talk to the kids and make sure they understand who they're around. Know limits of time when to be in the house. If you got a curfew, meet the curfew. If you're going to be out late, make sure you're letting someone know. Use the power of the social media account. Get on Facebook. If you feel like you're in duress, or you're in trouble and you can't reach nobody, by calling them, put on live. Put it on Facebook Live. Put it on Instagram Live. Just go ahead and put it on live. And put your phone somewhere where people can see, and then that say and talking to it, and let them know, give them the hand signals, and let them know where you at, and in the live, and put it on record, and let that stuff play. So when something happens, people can have the evidence to know where you were, and they can trace you from there, or whatever the case may be. But always try to have a plan in place when you're doing stuff, when you're out, when who you're around. Let your parents know what time you're coming back. They say 10 o'clock, be there at 9:59. Be there at be there at 9:45. Be there 15 minutes earlier. Give yourself some wiggle room so you can be safe. That's for guys too, because boys are not exempt, just like girls are not exempt. So that's all I have. I'm not going to be before you long. Again, human trafficking, the statistics are really high. You can Google it. You can look it up about the sex trafficking statistics. But just think about the hand signals. Think about the importance of educating your children, educating your if you don't have kids and you have mentors, or you have nieces and nephews, any youth, sit down and educate them, especially girls, and let them know. First of all, know how to be safe, and also know how to be smart when they're out here. So that's all I have. I'm going to try. We can talk about. I've been looking at the Ahmaud Arbery trial. I'm looking at the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. I haven't really sat down and really gauged everything, so I'm going to take some time to look at this stuff and then maybe present some commentary on that. And I'm just going to keep looking for things. There's a lot going on in the news. I know everyone's been talking about what happened at Travis Scott's concert. That's a whole nother topic. The things that's been going on. There's a lot of I'm going to say a lot of demonic activity. For those who are Christians and those who follow Christ, what I'm talking about. And also go ahead to the Freedom Fighters channel. I meant to say that earlier, but go to the Freedom Fighters channel, go subscribe, go share that stuff. There's a lot of good information on there. Precious Pearl Ministries, a lot of good information on there. And we talk about a lot of things that are relevant that people need to hear. And in these times, we got to be spiritually mindful of what's going on, just like we are physically and mentally mindful. But I'm going to try to post more in here. And for those who, like, as I always say, if you got any comments or things to add, if you know any other ways to help youth in the sense of keeping themselves from getting, caught up with the sex trafficking, if you know of any tips or things, feel free to leave in the comments. Make some commentary about it, so we can help pass this up. Share and subscribe to stuff. Send it to a child. Send it to your daughter. Send it to your niece and nephew. Send it to someone that's out there, as far as doing day-to-day tasks, and you want them to be safe. Teach them the hand signals. It's very simple. 4 fingers, thumb, close it down with the thumb in the middle. 4 fingers, thumb, close it down in the middle. Tuck that thumb in there in the 4 fingers and then close it down. That's a sign that I need help. And as people educate themselves on this stuff, it's something that if you ever see someone out and they do that, there's a possibility they may be in duress. Now, again, people gonna play with it, and it's not really the case. But in this case, if it's really true, you can tell not only from the hand signals, but you also can tell from that they may how they're looking. Are they looking stressed? Are they looking like they're scared? They look like they're in a situation they don't need to be in. Be watchful and just look for those things. You can save someone's life. You can catch the guy that's doing it. You can catch that perp. And we can make this situation minimized, because there's a lot going on with it. So that's all I got, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Again, share www.rebuildingcommunitytrust.org. I'm going to do some updates as soon as I can, and continue to share and subscribe to material. All right, guys, be blessed.